All right. So, welcome to Sunshine Podcast. We have a guest today. We have Laura Van Horn. So, today's episode, we're talking about caregiver experiences and insights, and well as tips of self care, unspoken techniques, and managing caregiver burnout. All right, Laura. So, tell us a little bit more about your background and how did you become a caregiver?
Well, I actually started with caring for my grandmother. She was getting up in age and my mother needed help. And so I stepped in and took care of my grandmother after a fall. And I realized that being a caregiver fulfilled a need in me that I hadn't found in the past,
Okay.
in past jobs.
All right. And then let's kind of talk about job or calling, like not your identity.
Well, I realized a few years ago that my job actually started to become my identity because caregiving is such a wide variety that most everybody has some sort of experience with family or friends and caring for them, that I felt like I couldn't get out of that role and I was really struggling. And then I realized that I needed to set some boundaries for myself. And I branched out. I found hobbies that I enjoyed for myself, and I found exercise. We all need to be healthy. We all need to eat a balanced diet. And I found that exercise not only helped me physically, but helped me emotionally well.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So, how would someone know whether or not it's a job or a calling?
Well, from my point of view, it would be a calling if you go home and you feel fulfilled. It's not just a job that you're clocking in and out of, but you go home and you have this kind of warm and fuzzy
Yeah.
feeling and you
You're like,
feel
I did something
accomplished.
today. You're like,
Yes,
wow, so I made a
exactly.
difference.
My goal each day is to go into a client's home and make them laugh. And it could be a simple joke, it could be a more complicated joke, but I try to bring their life experience and kind of turn it more into a more modern time kind of joke that, yeah, that is a great memory and it makes me smile. And so, and sometimes it may not be a great memory, but what's the saying? You either laugh or you cry. And so we laugh
Right.
to deal with them.
Awesome, awesome. So to summarize, a job is more like something you clock in and out. You just like, okay, I did it. And then a calling is more of like something that's deep rooted, like a passion. And
Absolutely.
it just makes you happy, but it can make you cry. Just
Absolutely.
because it's a calling doesn't mean it isn't hard.
It's not always easy. You're going to have your tough days and you're going to have your days where you go home and you just flop on the couch and don't want to move.
Right.
But most days you go home and you feel good about yourself.
You feel like wow, today I had a purpose versus
Yeah.
like if it's a job, then it's like, man, what is my purpose? Usually people after work go, man, I wish there was something else. But if it's your calling, like after a long day at work, you're like, I can't wait for tomorrow. Like we're gonna
Exactly.
start over again.
And bringing fun things to our clients inside their homes that they may not be getting out. They can be recipes, it can be activities, it can be technology, and looking up fun facts about time when they were little and what life was like. And that way they can remember and you can learn from them.
Right. All right. So let's learn a little bit more about you. What are some of your experiences and settings as a caregiver? Our audience may not know, like, caregivers aren't just at the hospital.
No, caregivers are not just at the hospital. Caregivers are in adult family homes, they are in facilities, they are in rehabs, and they're in home. I have worked in both a assisted living as both a caregiver and a med tech, and I have mostly worked in home. I have found for myself that I enjoy that connection, that one-on-one time,
Yeah.
and it just was more fulfilling for me. I love getting to know my clients. I love learning about their experiences and good and bad. And laughing with them.
It's always the stories. It's never the same, right?
No, everyone is different and everyone has their own point of view. And I go in and I say, what can I learn from them?
Mm-hmm.
I say we learn from everybody in our lives, but what can we learn from our seniors? They have lived and they have loved, and sometimes they have lost.
Right.
And sharing those memories and those thoughts.
And helping them through it and helping them remember, it just feels like such an honor to do that.
And sometimes they get stuck in the grief and they can't see the happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can help them just bring some of that light, from me to them, that's the greatest gift.
Yes, it is.
And it's a gift for me. It's not a gift for them. It's a gift for me that they have honored me with sharing their life.
Right. And so what do you do now?
I am still in home care.
Okay.
I don't think I will ever let that go.
Okay.
It's always going to be a part of me. But I am actually going back to school.
Okay.
And I am going back and getting my RN.
Right, good for you.
As
far as in-home care, what was the determining factor why you liked it so much?
That there was no rush.
Okay.
In a facility, I had a half a floor. So I had 10 patients to take care of or 10 clients to take care of. And you're always backup for the other caregivers if somebody gets stuck or if there's an accident. And I wanted to take that time and get to know my patients. And I didn't like the go of a facility. And there are some that thrive on that.
Yes, absolutely.
And I have heard that you're either an in-home caregiver or you're not. It's hard for me to be in a facility, but I could do it.
Right.
But for me, it's just in-home is just more special to me.
Exactly. I think the reason why I know the reason why I chose in-home care was as working in a clinic, I always saw the seniors come in and I always wondered, what is their home life like? And so I always felt drawn to, like, after they leave here, it's not like I didn't care about the situation when they came into the clinic or the senior center or nursing home. It was just more of like, what was their life before this?
Yeah.
And so in-home care definitely, we found a good spot in in-home care. Yes.
Well, and you get to know them personally instead of just having a name on an appointment calendar or, a set of tests that need to be run, or you really get to know the person.
Right. So if you like to get to know people, caregiving is for you.
Absolutely.
If some of these sound very interesting to you, then you might think about maybe this is, your calling.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you're listening to this and this doesn't sound interesting to you and you're already a caregiver, we have a few things we want to talk about here soon. So let's just kind of talk about lifestyle balance. Because a caregiver, we already know, as a job or as a calling, they're naturally the caregiver in their life, like in their family structure, to their friends. How do you balance that?
I found it difficult in the beginning. I thought in my mind, I can handle it. Since it's a calling to me, it should be not only in my professional life, but in my personal life. But I found that I was suffering. Both mentally and physically. I was running myself ragged, trying to keep everyone in my life healthy and doing what they're supposed to do, get to the doctor. And I realized that it was okay not to. And it was okay for me to say, just to be a listening ear and say, I'm really sorry. If you need any help, you can let me know. And it really helped me because I was able to finally set that boundary in my mind.
That's really good.
Because you always hear, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your clients.
Mm-mm.
And it goes for family. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your family.
Exactly. Well, let's kind of talk about some stories there. Not that it has to go into specific details, but let's kind of talk about some caregiving stories that stand out to you.
Caregiver stories. Well, I have been with a client for 7 years.
Okay.
He is almost like an uncle to me.
Okay.
But we kid about that his wife did all of the training and I just kind of keep up the maintenance for him and making sure that he gets to the doctor and he's making the right health decisions with all of the information. And I realized with him is that we don't want to take medications. We don't want to take maybe a medical procedure or a surgery if we don't understand what's going on.
Exactly.
And I realized even just recently that he didn't understand what was going on when I first started with him. And he didn't want to take his meds and he wasn't going to the doctor because he didn't understand why.
Mm.
So I am there to kind of translate from what somebody else is saying to something that he can understand
Mhm.
and he can make the decisions. I'm not making the decisions.
Right.
And I tell him first and
You're being an
foremost.
advocate for his, you're advocating for his care.
Absolutely. And it really does make a difference just having that one person there to talk with and to understand. And it could be just simple as one or two words to change the fact that they understand. And so we have been together for 7 years. We kid about me being under a 20-year contract, and I've got another 13 years with him. And so it's going to be interesting going to school and being an RN and still taking care of my uncle slash
Right.
client. And so it's fun and meeting different people, having somebody who has maybe a stroke, maybe somebody who has some dementia and living with family, but giving family an opportunity to go out and relax and do something maybe with kids or other family members. And you get to stay home and you get to spend time with
Mhm.
their family member and laugh and talk about stories. And even if you just sit there and be a companion, that is great. It's
That's beautiful.
wonderful.
Yeah. So, listeners, I know that you heard that she has been a caregiver for this particular client for 7 years. I know that there is some kind of stigma that caregiving is like for end of life. And let's just kind of talk about stigmas with caregiving. I had a conversation with a few people that thought they understood what caregiving was until we explained that we can take care of even pregnant ladies. We can take care of
Yes.
people after they've given birth. We can
Yep.
take care of people of any adult ages at this point. Caregivers typically take care of adults. I don't know about pediatric caregivers. That's a
Most of the time when you are dealing with minors or pediatrics, there is a disability, a physical or maybe a spectrum of autism or some learning disabilities. And I actually worked with a young man. He was an adult at the time, but he had some difficulties, and they were still discovering what he could and couldn't do.
right.
And he was nonverbal, and you could still see in his eyes the wheels were turning, and he was still very much a teenager and in that kind of rebellion stage. But the very much we think that just because somebody can't talk, that they don't think and they're not there.
Mm-hmm.
But that is totally not
They're still
true.
trying to communicate.
Absolutely.
And it's like you said earlier, we become translators
Yes.
for them, and it takes a special amount of skill. Yes, caregivers go through a lot of training for all these different things, but there's still that innate, intuitive,
Yes.
like gift that a lot of caregivers, like really good caregivers, it's just more reading people.
Very much being able to, and it takes time to learn somebody, just like in the world, in your workplace, in your family,
You
learning
have to break the
somebody.
ice, and
Exactly.
that's why they call icebreakers for a reason. Because sometimes care is very like they're cold about it in the beginning, and then we warm up. We warm them up to it, and they understand the value of our help.
And when I go into somebody's home, I tell them, we are here to do things the way you do them. This is not our home. We are not coming into your home and changing your entire life.
No.
We are here to be an extension of what you can do. We're not here to do for you. This is your home. We're here to keep you independent. And I try to go in there and be maybe extended family.
Exactly.
And
there might be a mom there. There
yes,
might be, a brother-in-law.
yes,
So many different people in the family. So let's just kind of circle back to like the stigmas of care. So the stigmas of care, we kind of talked about like the disabilities.
Yeah.
So it's not just end of life. So
Yeah.
you don't have to be 80 or above. So anywhere from adult age. It
yes,
could be our age. So
absolutely.
let's just say, what if one of us got into a car accident? We
Yeah.
hope that never happens. But we may need, rehabilitation, and having a caregiver to help during that time really is helpful. Like help with the
Yes.
shower, help with doing laundry. And I know a lot of, mothers listening to this. We never thought about hiring a caregiver because it would be really nice to have a medical professional or even someone who had children to understand maybe this might be your first child and they know what you're going through.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's okay. Answer the door in your pajamas. Yes, the house is a mess. But
Yes.
we can clean it up. No judgment.
Absolutely.
And it's just more of peace of mind that we're just, like you said, an extension.
Yes.
We're not here to take over. That's never the intention. We're giving care.
Yes.
So if anything, we are extra cautious and courteous that we're like a fly on the wall. Like I'll just clean the kitchen over here, take out the trash, just put things back in order the way it looked like it used to be.
Yes.
We don't go and reorganizing something because it's based on like what we think. It's
Yes.
more of how the house, like, okay, this is where the plates are. This is where the napkins go. We're not gonna say, oh, the plates would do better over here. No, that's not what we're there for.
And something that I've learned, even I think it was in my early 20s, and I would have never thought this with teenage years or growing up, but it is okay to ask questions.
It is.
Where do the plates go? Where do the silverware go?
Actually, people like that we ask the questions.
Yes.
Because it builds that communication, that relationship. Like, oh, that's really nice of her to ask. I really like that she asked me to not use dryer sheets in the dryer. I forgot. I don't like that. But the fact that it's there, you would assume to use it.
Yes.
Oh, can you just please throw away that box? And it's just like, we think of things that help them in little ways.
And I've run into clients that are like, yeah, just open all the cabinets, learn my kitchen, you're fine. If you have any questions, just ask. But I still feel kind of uneasy just opening cabinets and snooping. So if I absolutely can't find something, then I'll kind of go snooping through. But most of the time I will ask questions and double check and make sure that I am doing it the way they want.
All right. So we got into some fun stories. So a juicy topic to talk about is unspoken techniques. So we have a few fun techniques that we want to share with you. Let's start with the first one. So some unspoken techniques, we like to call it in the caregiver world being a detective.
That's right.
And the biggest thing is observation. So let's kind of talk about like what the first shift would typically look like. We may not always get it right the first time, but there's some things that can up your game as a caregiver. Here are some techniques.
The first shift can be nerve-wracking. It could be a male and you've never taken care of a male client before and you don't know what to expect, and maybe you're the first caregiver they've ever had and they're not comfortable, And so you go in with a smile on your face and an upbeat personality, and you ask what would they like, and sometimes they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look around their space. Maybe it's their bedroom and they have a hospital bed, or they have creams and lotions and maybe a deodorant and a bath station on their dresser, and you ask what they would like. So you are looking around their space and seeing how they have it set up, or how the family has it set up. And I would not go in and change things, because you know that there's been trial and error and how to set things up and how it works best. So, and it's not just in their bedroom. It could be also in their kitchen. It could be in their bathroom. They could have some special routines that they do. Maybe it's something that they've done their entire life.
Exactly.
And so you're playing detective and you're watching with close eyes and how they move and what they do. And maybe after you have them sit down for a meal and you're settled, and then you can go back and you can ask maybe those questions that you didn't have answers to. How would you like me to help you dress? Did I do anything different? So playing detective around their home is not snooping. It is being very observant and learning your client without kind of them knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And but also paying attention to how they move. Maybe they're not wearing socks. Maybe they're not wearing shoes.
Because they could be already dressed and ready for the day.
Exactly. Maybe they answer the door without their walker. And that is it is a big thing, especially for our clients who have had a stroke or who have had a heart attack and they have a weak on one side or general weakness. And so those detective skills that we should hone is can be a life-changing and life-saving skill for our patients and for us in our everyday life as well.
Exactly. So caregivers listening, whether you're a family caregiver or a working caregiver, you must be a detective. And some sly ways of doing it is allowing your client or patient to have some space.
Yeah.
So let's just say they answer the phone or they're using the bathroom. It's a good time. Obviously you want to be in earshot of your client at all times.
Yeah.
But you can look at pictures on the wall. You can look at their recipe books or look at the food that's in the fridge. And it's really not snooping, but you're kind of just like downloading all this information, and you notice, oh, maybe this person is from this country based on, information that you gather. Like, wow, there's like this country all over their wall. Maybe I should ask them about it. Maybe that's where they're from, or did they visit there?
Yeah.
There's just a lot of things that their home and belongings is a story for them. And you're just kind of unraveling these things just like a detective. And really, the end goal is just to build a relationship, really.
And also, one of our big responsibilities as caregivers is we are going in because family or they want somebody there to be kind of that safety net for them. It's showering, it's dressing, it's cooking, can be very dangerous. Maybe they don't remember, their short-term memory is gone. But learning these little things about them and their home is also a way that we can learn if they've gone off their baseline.
Exactly.
They're normal. Maybe they've stopped eating the ice cream that they would normally eat. And maybe
why? Like,
exactly.
Is it something, maybe their body is not processing it, or the taste buds is different? Does ice cream make them feel sad now? So there's so many things that we have to be detective for.
Yes. Yes. And that change of baseline, that change of normal could be something just simple as we're all evolving, and it could be something serious.
Can you explain to our listeners what a baseline means?
A baseline is somebody's normal, and that's what they would do maybe in their younger years. They would brush their teeth and rinse 3 times. and they would wash their face and then comb their hair. It's their regular routine. And it's maybe how they would dress, how they would eat. And going off of their normal isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it can be an indication of something is different. And different is just different, but we need to watch out for that. And it's normal is normal, but one person's normal is not the same as another person's normal.
And we know this from experience.
Oh my goodness. Yes. And you can have a client that is off their normal one day and then they're back on it the next day. We all have bad days. We all have rough days. And it's kind of going with the flow. There's no set rule book. There's no set schedule. As a caregiver, we are there for their life and their rhythm. And it's fun to see them change and how we change from their life experience. So change is good. May we not always think so, but change can be good.
Yeah. So there's certain things that as you age, it's like you're battling, getting older, losing your youth, and as caregivers, we become their warrior. We fight for them.
Yes.
And that's why we called it Caregiver Warrior as our topic of discussion today. Because caregivers are warriors. We're fighting for safety, for our clients. We're fighting to keep the memories intact for them.
Absolutely.
We're fighting to keep the family together, and not like fighting, but we just wanted to paint a very picture of what it's like to battle through old age, because there's so many things that just all of a sudden you have a roadblock, and who is going to help you through that, whether or not you're the family caregiver, or if you are the spouse that's the caregiver, or you have a paid caregiver like one of us, and we want to go through this journey with you.
And sometimes it's just sitting with a client and saying, unfortunately, this is your normal for right now. And you could have a client say, but I want to get back to driving. I want to get back to my independence. And sometimes you have to have those hard discussions and say, that's not happening right now.
Exactly.
It is a great goal to work towards, and I will help you work towards that as safely and as responsibly as possible.
Exactly.
But their care and their safety and well-being is the top priority for us.
And caregiver integrity, we never want to lie to our clients. That's never our techniques. I know there's a lot of techniques about gentle deception and things like that. We always, in the way that is the most caring, and the way that we learn is just at that point changing the topic. And if it's stressing them out and it's not fruitful, or not helpful for them, well, let's just talk about something else and we'll get back to it. Because stewing over something that can't be changed right now, we are the caregiver warrior. We have to make sure that whatever is bothering them, we can fight that off and say, hey, let's just do what you can do for today. And this is why having a consistent type of care is great for recovery. If you don't have consistent care, then recovery is very slow, or it might not happen if you don't have the right care team.
Well, and being a caregiver warrior, as I said before, is also a safety net for our clients. They know that you're going to show up maybe just once a week, or 3 times a week, or even 7 days a week. And they know that you are going to be there and you are going to help them, because it is not that they don't think about this.
Right.
That they overthink it just like we do, but it seems so big in their mind, because it's a big change for them.
It is.
And being honest with them is, I think, one of the most important things, because you don't want your client to then discover, well, my client lied to me and now I can't trust her, so I'm not
Yeah.
going to tell her anything.
Yeah.
And that is a big, big thing.
And a lot of it is, our responsibility to be well educated and we may not know all of the answers, but we know how to talk through it with our clients and help them with, what we do already know and within our scope of practice. So it's always really nice to have a well educated, caregiver and a care team, because families really do depend on us to let them know, is this normal? Like, that's always the question. Is this normal? Is
Absolutely.
this okay? Is
Yes.
this stage of dementia, is
Yes.
this normal? And we're the experts. We know if they're far gone when we walk in
Yeah.
and we see the situation. We're like, they're not in the early stages, and we can be honest with the families. We can't diagnose, but we can share our experience that, from past clients,
Yeah.
these symptoms present at this part of the stage of where they're at. That gives families a lot of peace of mind that we know what we're doing, but also it helps us know that what we
Well,
can do.
and it is completely okay to say, I don't know. Let me check with my supervisor, or I will have my supervisor contact you. You will have somebody have more respect for you if you say, I don't know,
Exactly.
than if you were to give false information or even incomplete information.
If you don't know all of the facts, the rule of thumb is just to say, I can find out for you, or I
Yes.
don't know.
Yes.
Never go, well, I know some of it. That's just not professional, and that's not going to help anybody with half answers.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about self-care. We have a few more topics that we want to talk about, then we need to wrap up our interview. So self-care, what do you do to take care of yourself after a long day? Caregiving can be really, really hard, and including on those hard days. What is some of your advice for caregivers listening?
My top advice would be to go to the gym.
Okay.
And I say that because it has been so beneficial to me. Even if you go and you put in your earphones and you put on maybe something soothing or some hard rock, and you just go and you have you time.
Mm-hmm.
It could be in a gym, it could be on a walk, it could be anything just for you. You could go into a library and you could spend an hour reading a book or perusing the books in the library, and there'd be no distractions. You could hopefully turn off your phone and just have some you time.
Okay.
But that self-care and that you time is very important for you to recharge your batteries. You just don't do it at night when you're sleeping. You have to set some time during the day, and if you can't do it every day, maybe you do it a couple of times, or even hopefully more than once a week.
Exactly.
But that you time is very, very important.
I like how you stated going to the gym,
Yes.
because we are healthcare providers. So
Yeah.
what we do on our free time is also what we should be advocating for to our own clients. So we kind of need to walk the walk and talk the talk. So they're going to ask us, even us, like, what do we do in our free time? We're not always working. Sometimes they might think that we're just always working. We're not robots.
And if you can't get to the gym for physical or time constraints,
just do something for you, like you said.
Absolutely. You don't have to get to the gym. It's okay if you don't get to the gym, but you make it your best effort, but still you do something for you.
Yes, staying healthy is very important. That's a really great self-care tip. The next one is managing burnout. So you've missed all of the self-care. You didn't see the red flags. Things personal life is starting to pile up. Things at work is starting to pile up. And you're just wondering, should I even do this anymore? When does it come to a point, for a caregiver to say, I need to call it quits? What is your advice for someone that it's on the verge of, like, I don't think this is for me now?
I would say that if you if you go through a period of time, and we all have rough days, we all have hard days, but if it's been a week or it's been a month and you are not seeing yourself be as happy as you were before, and because of work piling and because of life and because of kids, you know, we all have stresses. But if we are not having joy coming from our life, if we are not enjoying our job and our calling, then it is time for us to take a step back and evaluate. And if it comes to the hard decision of, I need to find something else, then that's what needs to happen. And if I hate to say it, but if you are thinking of taking shortcuts with your client and not paying attention to details because, oh, somebody else will take care of it,
Yeah,
the next caregiver.
if you're disinterested and
Yes.
you're just dragging your feet like, oh, this is just a stepping stone.
Yeah.
That's the one of the worst things that I hear in the industry.
Yeah.
That caregiving is just my stepping stone.
Yeah.
And caregiving it can be part of the path, but if you look at it as it's not, well, what is the word I'm looking for?
It's no longer your passion
It's
anymore.
no longer your passion. So it's even being in healthcare. If you think of caregiving is the backbone to the entire
my
healthcare
goodness.
industry. So if you're looking at caregiving as a stepping stone, like, oh, that's below me, then
Yeah.
it's probably not the path for you to take. The world doesn't need unpassionate,
Yeah.
disinterested healthcare providers. We have plenty of those already.
Yes.
The reason why we have this podcast is to motivate and liberate other caregivers and to ignite that passion again.
Yes.
That is within them. So if you got to this point of the podcast and you're like I really don't want to give people showers, or you're like, wow, like I give the best spa showers and I like cutting toenails and giving them the best looking feet, and that skin it is fully, bouncy, and this sounds all very nerdy, I understand, but these are the things that if this doesn't make you excited talking about these things, then it's probably not for you.
Right.
And although, yes, you have to work and, make money and bills to pay, there are plenty of other jobs that caregiving obviously is not the best paying job, but it is a good job. It is. But also it's hard work. So you have to want to be a caregiver, because caregiver is hard work.
It is.
And it's very rewarding. And there are jobs out there that pay really well, but it's more of the reward for yourself at the end of the day. If you don't like what you do, it really doesn't matter.
Very much. We want a reward now for what the work we have done. We are an instant gratification society. And as a caregiver, you may not you get your paycheck every week or every other week or once a month. And that is your, not instant gratification, but that is what we get to pay our bills, because we all have bills. But that smile on your client's face, that is your instant gratification. That is your joy that you should have at the end of the day.
And that they're safe and that they're cared for. And that's just really, that you're doing what you're supposed to do when those little things are big things for you.
Absolutely.
So those are some things. We didn't really touch on how to manage the burnout, but managing burnout starts with self-care.
Yes.
And kind of reevaluating when you're at burnout. So burnout is way past exhaustion. So things are missing. You may have forgot to pay a bill. You missed the doctor's appointment. You're not texting anybody back or calling anybody back. You called in to work sick. These are all symptoms of burnout. Like you just no longer have like that zest for life anymore. You
don't want to go to work.
And you're starting to make like excuses like, oh, I'm not up for it today.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of times, we just have one of those days where you need a mental
Yeah.
health day and there's a lot going on.
And honestly, we all have those days. And I have had days where my home life has been in the toilet, so to say. And I go to my clients, and that is an opportunity for me to forget my woes, and I can set that aside, and I can go in there and I can take care of them. And most of the time, I come out after my shift or my time, and I'm like, wow,
You feel
okay,
better. You're like,
I
okay.
can do this,
Yeah.
you know? And so if you don't have that feeling, if you don't have that desire to be a caregiver and to help others, that is a major sign of burnout. And there are other jobs in healthcare, but caring for others is the foundation of our
Mhm.
healthcare.
Mhm.
There are just those with more education and more responsibility, but caring for our patients and caring for our clients, that is the foundation of our
And
of our
that
jobs.
should be something that comes natural.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't, it's okay if it doesn't come natural. There's a reason why we're a small percentage of the industry. If it doesn't come natural, that's okay. You're not a bad person for it.
No.
It's just we're all built differently. Our personalities are built differently. And it's okay. Once you find out, like, wow, this is my passion, then you're good to go. So we're gonna go to the next topic, and then we have a few things that we want you to do after you listen to this. Is how do you become a caregiver? We're just gonna touch over it briefly. How did you become a caregiver? What's some advice for someone that's like, wow, maybe this could be me?
Well, I actually started out, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, as I started out with my grandmother, and I didn't start out as a paid professional. I was just caring for my grandmother. She was my grandmother. I loved her. My mom needed help. And then I was laid off from a job, and oh, I could make this my job and be paid for it, but take care of my grandmother. I went through classroom time.
Okay.
I went through, I believe, a safety video, and I got to practice. We got to practice on each other in the class.
Oh yes,
And that
including
was,
putting on a gate belt
yes.
and getting people out of bed and doing bed baths on. No, obviously like with clothes on, but
and
yeah.
and I remember the wheelchair and the crutches we all had fun with, and we put on the glasses to see what it was like to have glaucoma or have some impaired vision, and see what it was like to walk
And to
around.
clean dentures. For some people, that's the first time they've ever seen
Yes.
dentures.
Yes.
And hearing aids and how expensive hearing aids are.
And those things may sound simple and no brainers, but dentures are expensive, hearing aids are expensive, and you want to learn how to take care of them properly. And so I started out in a classroom as well as taking care of my grandmother, and just those years of taking care of different people and different experiences. And there is also continuing education on top of it. And I always I do my continuing education online. I can do it at my own pace. I try to get it done well in advance of my birthday, but I try to pick topics that I don't know about.
Mm.
There's always the topics of how to wash your hands, proper nutrition, and proper cooking techniques. But being a caregiver is always being knowledgeable of what's new and
Exactly.
learning new things. You never know when that's going to happen. So, education is a big thing in caregiving.
It is. It is. So, how long is school typically?
Typically, my in class, I think I was in class for about 6 hours a day, and I think it was like right around 6 weeks.
Okay.
I don't know what it's like now. I've been a caregiver for over 12 years.
I think it's still a couple of months. When I became a caregiver, I think it still was a 6 week
Yeah.
course, and we did clinicals like actually at a nursing home.
Yes.
And so every school is a little bit different. You have to find out what's best for you. In the state of Washington, we do have two different licenses, which is the home care aide and the certified nursing assistant. So we bring that up is if you are either one of those,
Yes.
please go to our website,
Absolutely.
sunshinecareservices.com/employment. There's a few other things that you can do is find us on Facebook or Instagram or listen to the rest of the podcast and tell us your feedback. And if you have any questions for Laura or myself, please leave a message and we will try to do that on the next podcast.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Laura, for being on the show.
I loved it.
Hope you had fun.
I did. I really did.
And listeners, we hope you learned something new today. And thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.